in his endeavor to give us a first-class publication. Okay, be right back. We're going to talk about men's talk. And men's talk, you know, that's very important. See you in a second. Hi, welcome back to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. And we're going to have men's talk. Yes, no, women, I want the women to stay here too, so you can remind what was said, okay? I'd like to have you welcome Dr. John Taylor. I mean, he's president of Men's Talk, one of the gentlemen that's got this organization going. Also, Minister Lawrence Patterson. And they're going to give us something very important. Men's Talk, as far as I'm concerned, is so very important for the image of our children. Welcome, Doctor.
Hi, Ed.
How did you get involved? Give us your background.
Good afternoon, Ed. How are you? Thank you for having us. We really appreciate this opportunity. I tell you what, Men's Talk really was birthed from the Lord. You know, people say that all the time, but God basically placed this dream and this vision in my spirit several years ago. And I noticed throughout the county and really throughout all my travels that young men, older men, you know, we all walk around, look like we've got it all together. But the reality is we've got a lot of stuff bottled up that we don't talk about. And so consequently, I believe that we're almost like, the analogy is we're almost like dormant volcanoes. And we know what happens with a dormant volcano. Eventually it erupts. And so there's no surprise that we see an increase in black-on-black crime. We see an increase in domestic violence. And I think the core reason behind that is because men don't have an outlet that they can talk about their stuff. And not to disparage the women, we know that. I'm married almost 20 years. But the reality is, as a man, you have my DNA and I have your DNA. And you can understand my hurts, my feelings, those things that keep me in bondage, that keep me tied up and tangled up. And just so, you know, there are many things that we have to let out of our system, and we've got to talk about our stuff. And so that's really the genesis of Men's Talk. No more than barbershop talk, no more than locker room talk, just to get together and just kind of talk and kick it and be transparent with each other. But then at the same time, we want to hold each other accountable. We want to talk about our stuff, and then we want to offer solutions as to how we can see.
How do you do that? How do you hold men accountable? You know, what kind of system do you have?
Well, one of the things that we've done, Ed, is that we've formulated small groups. It's a lot easier to hold 3 or 4 or 5 in a group accountable than 30 or 40 or 50. And so consequently, you know, you form a partnership.
More effective.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You form a partnership with 3 or 4 guys. You form a, you know, just like any other team. We all happen to see the Miami Heat last night win their championship, but it's something about team dynamics that's so important. The team holds each other accountable. The individuals within the team hold themselves accountable. Our military personnel is a great example. You know, we know guys will jump on a hand grenade to save their fellow soldiers. And so consequently, there's a bond there. There's a stronghold that allows you to hold another brother accountable because you care. And also to let the brother know that he's not alone. Oftentimes we feel like, you know, I'm a man on an island. I'm doing this by myself. I'm going through this by myself. But the reality is, if I've been married 20 years and you've been married 2 years, I can speak to your situation. I can tell you some of the things that are coming down the pike that you may not have thought about. And so again, as a man, we don't do it in a judgmental way, but we do it in a loving and a caring and a Christ-centered way. And that's the genesis of Men's Talk.
No, sounds good. Mr. Patterson, tell us, how's your involvement with Men's Talk?
Well, my involvement with Men's Talk has been an exceptional experience. I've had the opportunity to attend one of their sessions called The Man in the Mirror, and it brought such great revelation to see men actually gather without a football helmet or a basketball in their hand and speak about themes that were relevant to today's man. And having the opportunity to sit among the brethren like that and hear of their story, it was such an inspiring institution for me that I went back to my local assembly at Victory Church International and shared that with my pastors, Walter and Carmel Lattimore, and said, we have got to get this organization here because I believe that they have some valuable information that would be a great asset to our men's ministry. As a result of that, a great friendship had developed with John Taylor and myself, whereas I've always had such a passion for men's ministry or anything that's empowering men to reach their full potential as individuals. So having a platform that's already in place, I don't believe we need to create a wheel when there's one already turning.
Already there.
So having that opportunity to join with that was very empowering.
It's real interesting, Ed, because this Men's Talk vision really was presented to several of the mega churches in our area in Prince George's County. And not to disparage anyone, but you know, they kind of ignored it. And what God showed me was that smaller churches like Victory, smaller churches like the one I'm affiliated with now, Unity Baptist Church in Forestville, where the pastor is Reverend Robert Beard, affords us an opportunity to reach people where they are. You know, the larger churches didn't want to touch this, and maybe we were stepping on some toes, but you know what God said, there's a work for you to do. There's too many people out there, too many men out there hurting. And we challenge men to be better fathers, better husbands, you know, better nurturers, be the man that God has called you to be. But part of that process means becoming whole.
Right.
There's a healing process that has to take place. And now we create an environment, a venue that you can talk about your stuff. You can become healed, whole, set free, and empowered to go to be the man that God has ordained you to be.
Well, you had an outstanding speaker, Dr. Bias.
Yes.
And the thing that really got me was the title, Raising Our Sons Against the Odds.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, you talking about a challenge. That is a challenge. Tell us about that program.
That was a great workshop. Dr. Bias came, and who else better to speak to that situation, raising our sons against the odds. The odds are against us in terms of our young African-American men. And even those of us who have survived as older men still have some scars from our past. And so Dr. Bias and I met through a mutual friend. She was right on board. She was more than happy to support us. And we all know her story. But she spoke from the heart. And she said, you know what I can do? I've done many of the right things that we as parents try to do, but the result may not be, you know, what we want. Sometimes it can be a little horrific. It can be a little devastating. And yet her faith in God allows her to press on. And she's taken what we perceive as a tragedy and made it into a victory. And she now speaks throughout the world. But more importantly, in our venue, what she did was she talked about and gave us practical tools as to how to raise our sons against the odds. Many of our young parents don't understand that.
Give us an example of that.
What she did was she talked about, as you mentioned earlier in the program, being participatory.
Right.
You have to, as a man, you cannot just drop your son off or daughter off and let someone else babysit them. You need to be there from the beginning of the program to the end of the program.
Right.
Let them know you cared. Let them know that you truly want their success.
Right.
And kids cannot be fooled nowadays.
No.
They know the genuineness of your heart. At the same time, they know if you've got other things on your plate that you view as a different priority. And so she gave us practical tools. Be participatory. Be active. Now
that's so very important. Participate. That's the key. Like young man here, Mr. Patterson. Tell us, how do you look when a young man like you, you look at the others and you decide, what am I going to do to help generations behind me?
Yeah.
Because someone helped you. No one made it by themselves.
That's right.
correct.
Yes.
You see what I mean? And what we men have to think in terms of is that we have to participate.
Sure.
We have to participate in, just like I was telling Dr. Taylor, all of this, if your child is going, participate in it. Don't drop them off.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Participate in it. Now, it's a lot of good examples that they've done in athletics. I think the track clubs around where the men are really very active, and I have to really give them applaud them for their effort. But what do you think we can do to improve our participation and set a better example for our young people?
I believe this generation, we would need to set realistic expectations. That also, we're not requesting them to do something that we cannot do ourselves. And I believe that the generation that is coming up they can look at the heart of them who are giving them instruction and see if they really, really have their best interests in mind. And when you invest in a generation, the younger generation, they will begin to produce what you are investing in them. And I believe having solid mentoring programs where the mentors themselves are trained to be effective mentors and not just do as I say, but they're also watching the mentors being mentored by someone, so that there is a legacy of healing and a legacy of transfer of information that's taken place within the manhood. And I think that that's so important for our generation today.
It's odd that you mentioned that, because one of the programs, mentoring programs, is the Evolutionary Elders with Dr. Eugene Williams.
Yes, sir.
And I think that having the young men actually being mentored, you know, by retired gentlemen, you know, that have been through. I think the program is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Dr. Williams, Dr. Both of you all have worked with that group continually. I'd like to congratulate you and the Men's Talk, because the Men's Talk starts when the young man hits his teens. That's when he begins to develop his ideas about life.
Absolutely.
And being associated with programs like Men's Talk and the churches and things like that, that's an excellent example.
Yes.
And what I like to do is congratulate you and you all for working and really giving time, because every time you have programs like, it takes time for you to do it.
Yes, it does.
You can't. It just doesn't come automatic.
This
you
is
have
correct.
to make a sacrifice.
Yes.
And the people that you sacrifice and get involved, they have to make a sacrifice for the next generation.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
So
With that, I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And Dr. Williams, well, he's working out. Well, he's brought me quite a few guests here concerning the Evolutionary Elders. And the elders, please, if you don't have anything to do, see Dr. Williams and Dr. Taylor. And as far as evolution, and the young man here, he gave you his ideas about Dr. Patterson. He was telling us basically, you know, how you can get involved. And once again, this has been Ed Brown, and I'll see you next time. Have some exciting guests.